The crypto world woke up to shocking news today, and if you're holding XRP, you need to hear this. Cointelegraph just reported that CFTC acting chairman Pham has officially announced a brand new crypto sprint initiative directly tied to Trump's crypto recommendations. For years, we've been stuck in regulatory limbo, watching the SEC tighten its grip, throwing lawsuits around like confetti, and choking innovation at every step. But this changes everything. For the first time, there's a serious power shift happening in Washington, and XRP could be the biggest winner. The CFTC, widely seen as far more crypto-friendly than the SEC, is stepping in to rewrite the rules of the game. That's monumental for regular investors like us, because it means fewer roadblocks, fewer endless court battles, and fewer sleepless nights worrying about classified regulations designed to lock us out of opportunities. Remember the nightmare scenario back in 2023 and 2024 when the SEC tried to push accredited investor rules onto crypto? They wanted us to prove our wealth before we could even touch certain tokens. If you didn't have millions sitting in your bank account, you were automatically excluded from life-changing investments. That moment almost killed retail crypto adoption completely. But Gary Gensler, the face of that chaos, is gone now. And make no mistake, his exit marks the beginning of a new era. The CFTC stepping up is exactly what XRP investors have been waiting for. The landscape is shifting from control and restriction to access and expansion. It's not just about price action anymore. It's about freedom to invest without being shut out by outdated gatekeepers. And here's where it gets even more interesting. While everyone's distracted by headlines about Bitcoin ETFs and Ethereum upgrades, XRP is quietly positioning itself for a historic breakout. There's a massive flipping scenario developing, one that most of the mainstream media hasn't caught on to yet. According to Uphold, XRP is entering a new phase where liquidity, volume, and institutional inflows could surpass Ethereum within this bull run. 80 has been making noise too, but let's be real. Cardano flipping Ethereum this cycle? Not happening. XRP, though. That's a different story entirely. This isn't speculation, it's math. XRP's settlement capabilities, transaction speeds, and regulatory clarity are aligning perfectly for institutional adoption. And if you think it stops at Ethereum, think bigger. Because here's the bold prediction. XRP is gunning for Bitcoin's throne. I know, it sounds insane. Bitcoin's been king for over a decade. But financial history is full of impossible moments. Until they happen. Remember when people laughed at the idea of Bitcoin even touching $10,000? XRP's fundamentals and its integration into global banking rails make this conversation very real. The question isn't if, it's when. And Wall Street is starting to wake up. JP Morgan, one of the biggest names in global finance, recently projected $8 billion flowing into XRP ETFs once they go live. Sounds huge, right? But I think they're severely underestimating the demand. Based on on-chain data and trading desk reports, we're looking at closer to $20 billion in inflows, possibly within the first year. To put that into perspective, that's 4x what Bitcoin ETFs generated during their launch window. That's the level of institutional appetite we're talking about. The tide is turning and the numbers don't lie. Now, while Bitcoiners and Ethereum maxis are busy fighting Twitter wars, XRP's leadership is playing chess while everyone else is stuck on checkers. Behind the scenes, Ripple Labs has been positioning XRP as the bridge asset for the next phase of global finance. The global economy is preparing for a return to a gold-backed system, and here's the twist. XRP doesn't need to be gold-backed itself. It's going to be the railway moving all that value around. When central banks launch their gold-backed stablecoins, XRP becomes the bridge that connects those digital currencies to each other seamlessly. The deeper you dig into today's crypto landscape, the clearer it becomes. A liquidity war is unfolding, and most people aren't even paying attention. Everyone's distracted by Bitcoin's ETFs and Ethereum's Layer 2 chaos. But the real battle, the one that's going to define the next decade of crypto dominance, is happening beneath the surface. And XRP, it's quietly positioning itself as the apex predator. Let's break this down. Right now, Uphold and other major exchanges have been tracking something wild. XRP, ADA, and ETH are in a stealth flipping race. Volume, liquidity depth, institutional capital, these metrics are shifting faster than ever, and XRP is leading the charge. People keep throwing ADA into the conversation, but let's be honest. Cardano's upside is limited this cycle. Yes, it's a strong network. Yes, it's innovating in smart contracts. But ADA doesn't have the one thing that matters most in global finance: real-world utility at scale. That's where XRP crushes everyone. While ADA is trying to get governments and developers on board, XRP is already embedded into financial infrastructure used by banks, payment providers, and clearinghouses worldwide. We're talking about hundreds of corridors, billions in cross-border settlements, and a roadmap that's been 5 steps ahead of everyone else for years. Ethereum, on the other hand, is still stuck in its own mess. Gas fees are rising again, the scaling wars between Layer 2 solutions are getting ugly, and regulatory clarity is nowhere in sight. The SEC has been hammering ETH in silence, leaving institutions hesitant to dive in fully. And here's where it gets crazy. The ETF game is about to blow this entire narrative wide open. JP Morgan's analysts project $8 billion in XRP ETF inflows within the first year. But if you've been watching the data, you know that's laughably conservative. This isn't retail speculation anymore. This is institutional allocation on a scale crypto has never seen before. Based on derivative positioning, on-chain inflows, and OTC desk movements, we're looking at something closer to $18 to $20 billion in early ETF capital. That's more than 4x what Bitcoin pulled in during its launch phase. Imagine what that kind of capital injection does to XRP's price action. But here's the thing nobody's talking about yet. Ethereum is in trouble. While ETH has dominated DeFi for years, the game has changed. Stablecoins, remittances, and cross-border payments, the big money use cases, are all moving off Ethereum. Why? Speed, cost, and compliance. ETH can't compete with XRP's sub-second settlement times or its near-zero transaction fees. Add to that the fact that global financial systems are aligning around ISO 20022 messaging standards, and guess who's already perfectly compliant? Not Ethereum, not Bitcoin. It's XRP and HBAR, built from the ground up for this exact moment. This isn't an XRP army fantasy. This is strategic infrastructure alignment at a central banking level. And once Swift's integration tests finish rolling out, XRP becomes the default liquidity bridge across borders. Meanwhile, ADA's recent spike in developer activity is creating buzz, but let's keep perspective here. Cardano is still an experimental ecosystem compared to XRP's live, high-volume corridors. If ADA continues its current momentum, sure, it could carve out a niche in smart contracts, but it's nowhere near XRP in terms of global settlement dominance. XRP isn't just fighting for crypto dominance, it's positioning itself as the backbone of the new financial system. That's why these next few months are critical. Institutional players are watching liquidity like hawks, and as XRP's volume starts overtaking Ethereum's in certain corridors, you'll see a cascading effect of capital rotation. We're talking pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, and central banks, the kind of players who don't care about memes, narratives, or Twitter fights. They care about rails, they care about settlement speed, finality, and security, and XRP checks every box. But here's the wild card nobody sees coming: gold-backed stablecoins. Central banks have been quietly stacking gold reserves at historic highs, and the plan is unfolding right under everyone's nose. The next generation of digital currencies won't be random algorithmic experiments. They'll be fully asset-backed, tied directly to real-world reserves. And yet, here's the part that matters most. Those gold-backed currencies still need a bridge. They need infrastructure to move value globally at lightning speed with rock-solid security. And guess which asset was literally designed for that role? XRP. That's why the upcoming liquidity wars aren't just about flipping ADA or Ethereum. They're about who owns the rails of the future economy. And the deeper you dig into today's moves, from ETF approvals to Swift's ISO rollout to central bank gold hoarding, the more obvious the answer becomes. The institutions know it. The developers know it. The smart money knows it. XRP isn't just winning the crypto game, it's about to reshape the global financial map. Here's where things get really interesting. Everyone's been watching Bitcoin ETFs, XRP's court wins, and Ethereum's scaling drama. But the real game changer is quietly unfolding behind the scenes. Gold-backed stablecoins. I'm not talking about USDT or USDC. Those are just fiat-backed IOUs. I'm talking about digital currencies directly tied to physical gold reserves, the kind of innovation that resets global financial power. And guess what? Central banks have been preparing for this moment for years. silently, strategically, and aggressively. The central bank gold rush. Go back and look at the data. Since 2020, central banks around the world have been hoarding gold at record levels. Quarter after quarter, they've bought more gold than at any other time in modern history. China, Russia, India, Saudi Arabia, Brazil, they've all been stockpiling. Even smaller nations like Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan have been loading their vaults. Why? Because everyone sees the writing on the wall. The US dollar's dominance is slipping, and they're preparing for a new system where gold regains its throne. The old financial order is cracking. Sanctions weaponize the dollar. SWIFT has been politicized. Trust in fiat currencies is fading fast. So, central banks are building a fallback plan, and that plan is a network of gold-backed digital currencies. But here's the thing. Gold is heavy. Moving it around the globe isn't practical. That's where XRP comes in. XRP, the bridge asset. See, the stablecoin wars aren't really about creating the perfect gold-backed token. That's only half the story. The real challenge is how to move those tokens globally with speed, security, and absolute trust. XRP was literally designed for this. It doesn't need to be gold-backed itself. It's the bridge asset that will transfer the value of gold-backed digital currencies across borders instantly. Think about it. When China issues its gold-backed digital yuan, and Saudi Arabia releases its gold-backed rial, and Europe launches its digital euro tied to reserves, how do those currencies interact? They need a neutral, lightning-fast settlement layer. That's XRP. While everyone was screaming about price predictions and court cases, Ripple quietly built the plumbing for the next monetary era. They've spent years forming partnerships with refiners, banks, and liquidity providers to prepare for exactly this transition. Why now? The ISO 2022 Catalyst. This is where things get explosive. By November 2025, the global banking system will have fully transitioned to ISO 2022, the new messaging standard for cross-border payments. It's more than just a technical upgrade. It's a complete rewiring of how value flows internationally. And here's the kicker. XRP is already ISO 2022 compliant. Ethereum isn't. Bitcoin isn't. ADA isn't. This isn't a coincidence. XRP was engineered from day one to integrate seamlessly with the banking system. It's not fighting the banks. It's becoming the rails they'll rely on when trillions of dollars start moving across gold-backed networks. SWIFT, the backbone of global payments, is already running live pilots with RippleNet integrations. Ripple is testing corridors in Asia, the Middle East, and Europe to prepare for this shift. And when the switch flips, XRP will instantly become the universal translator of value between digital gold, digital dollars, and every other tokenized asset on the planet. What this means for XRP's price. Let's put numbers on this. Right now, XRP's volume averages in the low billions per day. That's small potatoes compared to what's coming. The moment gold-backed stablecoins go live, we're talking trillions in annual settlement flows needing an instant liquid bridge. If XRP becomes the default settlement asset, which everything points to, demand skyrockets beyond anything we've seen before. Even a fraction of global settlement flows being routed through XRP would require massive liquidity reserves, pushing the price into entirely new territory. Forget 10 XRP. Forget 50 XRP. We're talking about three-digit territory once this system fully scales. And here's the best part. This isn't a pump-and-dump narrative. This is utility-driven demand, the strongest foundation any asset can have. Why the institutions already know. If you've been wondering why big banks, payment giants, and hedge funds have been suspiciously quiet about XRP, now you know. Their positioning. Look at Ripple's partnerships. Look at the BIS announcements. Look at Swift's testing corridors. The institutions aren't gambling here. They're locking in strategic dominance before retail investors catch on. This isn't about tribalism. It's not XRP versus ETH versus BTC. This is about who owns the rails when the global monetary system resets, and everything points to XRP being at the center of it. Everything we've seen so far, XRP's positioning, ISO 2022, the coming gold-backed stablecoin network, leads directly into this moment, the mass adoption tipping point. For years, crypto's biggest challenge hasn't been technology. It hasn't even been regulation. It's been distribution. Getting wallets into the hands of billions has been slow, clunky, and confusing. People had to download exchanges, manage seed phrases, transfer funds, and pray they didn't mess it up. That barrier to entry kept adoption locked behind a wall. That wall is about to come crashing down. Apple and Google are about to change everything. Charles Hoskinson called this months ago, and at the time, people laughed it off. Not anymore. In the next 18 to 24 months, Apple and Google will roll out native crypto wallets across iOS and Android. No downloads, no third-party apps, no signups. If you own a smartphone, you'll wake up one day and find a crypto wallet already on your device. We're talking 6, 7, maybe 8 billion people instantly gaining access to blockchain rails overnight. This isn't speculation. Insiders from Silicon Valley are quietly confirming the integrations are already being tested. Think about what happens next. Apps like WhatsApp, Telegram, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and even Shopify will tap directly into these built-in wallets using API hooks, sending money, receiving payments, swapping tokens. It'll all be as simple as sending a text. The real flip the switch moment. Everyone in the XRP community has heard that phrase, flip the switch, but most people still misunderstand what it means. It's not about Ripple pressing a magic button that spikes XRP's price overnight. It's about unlocking instant, seamless access to crypto for billions of people in one coordinated move. Imagine waking up one morning and realizing your phone now lets you store USD, EUR, or any currency you want, hold XRP, HBAR, BTC, ETH, and other supported cryptos, send value globally in seconds, earn rewards just for holding or spending through integrated incentive programs. You won't even need to understand what blockchain means. It'll all just work. That's when mass adoption happens, because friction disappears. XRP at the heart of the wallet revolution. Now here's where this connects directly to XRP's explosive potential. When these wallets roll out globally, users won't care about proof of work versus proof of stake, layer 1 versus layer 2, or which coin has the loudest fan base on X. They'll care about speed, cost, and reliability. That's exactly where XRP dominates. 3-second settlement times, tiny fractions of a penny in fees, scalable to 1,500 plus transactions per second today. And remember, these wallets aren't just for retail. Institutions, central banks, and global payment providers will plug into the same rails. The moment billions of people have wallets, corporations, fintech apps, and governments will start moving trillions through these same channels. XRP's role as the bridge asset becomes even more critical in this environment. If gold-backed currencies are coming, if tokenized treasuries are coming, if stablecoins are competing globally, something has to link them all together instantly. That's XRP's lane, and no other crypto is as far ahead in this race. Incentives will accelerate adoption. Now, here's the genius twist hardly anyone's talking about. Once these wallets are installed on every device, big tech companies, banks, and crypto networks will start offering incentives to pull users into their ecosystems. Think Coinbase Earn, but on steroids. Answer a few questions, earn XRP or HBAR instantly. Watch a short video, get rewarded in stablecoins. Refer a friend, earn tokenized loyalty points convertible into cash. This is how you onboard billions, by making it profitable to participate. And once people start earning, holding, and sending crypto effortlessly, there's no going back. Fiat won't disappear overnight, but demand for digital assets will skyrocket. ISO 2022 plus wallets equals the perfect storm. Now combine this wallet revolution with the ISO 2022 transition happening across the global banking system. Banks will upgrade to richer, smarter, and faster messaging standards by default. XRP is already compliant, which means it can plug directly into banking infrastructure from day one. That's the perfect storm. Central banks issue gold-backed digital currencies. Apple and Google give billions of people instant wallets. Swift and Ripple integrate settlement rails globally. XRP becomes the neutral translator of value between every token, every bank, every network. This isn't theory anymore. The pieces are already in motion. Now we get to the heart of one of the most explosive shifts happening in crypto right now, something the mainstream media still refuses to talk about. For years, Bitcoin was marketed as untouchable, the digital gold. the ultimate decentralized hedge against banks, governments, and inflation. But beneath the hype, a hidden flaw has been growing, one that's becoming impossible to ignore. Bitcoin's centralization nightmare. Here's the hard truth. Bitcoin is not as decentralized as everyone thinks. Right now, just two mining pools, Foundry USA and F2 Pool, control over 51.4% of the Bitcoin network's total hash power. That means, on paper, two entities could collude and take over Bitcoin. It gets worse. Foundry USA recently mined 8 consecutive blocks in a row. For anyone who understands how Bitcoin's proof of work works, this is terrifying. It means control isn't theoretical anymore. It's already happening. And here's the big danger. If 2 or 3 players dominate the hash rate, Bitcoin becomes vulnerable to a 51% attack. They could reverse transactions, double spend coins, freeze the network entirely. This isn't just a technical risk. It's a trust problem. Billions of dollars in institutional money are sitting in Bitcoin, ETFs right now. If a major attack happens, confidence in Bitcoin could collapse overnight. The energy drain problem. But centralization isn't the only issue. Proof of work itself is becoming economically unsustainable. Every single day, the Bitcoin network spends millions of dollars on electricity just to keep blocks moving. That value gets burned, handed directly to energy companies instead of staying within the ecosystem. In a world pushing toward green finance, ESG mandates, and energy-efficient systems, Bitcoin is fighting a losing battle. Governments are already cracking down on high-energy crypto mining, and institutional investors are quietly backing away from assets that could face regulatory bans. Proof of work was revolutionary in 2009. In 2025, it's a liability. Bitcoin maximalists are quietly panicking. Here's where it gets interesting. Some of the original Bitcoin whales, wallets that have been dormant for nearly a decade, are suddenly selling their holdings. These aren't retail investors. These are the people who built Bitcoin's early ecosystem, and they're quietly shifting liquidity into XRP and other utility tokens. Why? Because they see the writing on the wall. For years, Bitcoin maximalists mocked XRP, called it banker coin, and dismissed it as centralized garbage. But now, those same voices are showing up in XRP discussions, asking questions about scalability, settlement speed, and ISO 2022 compliance. It's not a coincidence. It's a migration. XRP's consensus model changes everything. Here's the game changer most people still don't understand. XRP doesn't rely on mining. There's no proof of work, no energy drain, and no central choke points. Instead, XRP uses a unique node list, UNL consensus model, where transactions are validated by a diverse network of trusted participants. That means there are no mining pools to hijack. There's no 51% attack risk. Even if validators go offline, new ones can step in instantly. In other words, XRP recovers in minutes, where Bitcoin might never recover at all. This is why institutions love XRP. It's built for global scale value transfer, where uptime, stability, and security aren't negotiable. From digital gold to digital utility, Bitcoin had its moment as digital gold. It introduced the world to blockchain and opened the door to financial sovereignty. But the market's evolving, and utility is the new king. This is where XRP, HBR, XLM, and other ISO 2022 compliant cryptos are quietly taking the lead. XRP, instant cross-border settlement. HBAR, enterprise-level network security. XLM, micropayments and remittances. XDC, trade finance rails. These aren't meme coins or speculative assets. These are the backbones of the new financial system being built right now under our noses. Why institutions are choosing XRP? When BlackRock, JP Morgan, Swift, and the BIS test new payment rails, they're not testing Bitcoin. They're testing XRP. Why? Because XRP solves the one problem no other crypto can: bridging value across currencies, networks, and asset classes instantly. Whether it's a gold-backed stablecoin, tokenized US Treasuries, CBDCs, or digital euros, XRP is built to move it all seamlessly, at scale. That's why the BIS Bank for International Settlements openly calls interoperability the holy grail of digital finance. Bitcoin was never designed for this. XRP was built for it. In Part 6, we'll connect everything. How Apple and Google's wallet integrations combine with XRP's role as a global settlement layer. why ISO 2022 adoption could unlock trillions in institutional flows, and why this coming flip, not just Bitcoin versus XRP, but fiat versus digital finance, will redefine wealth forever. Do you want me to move straight to part 6, where I tie it all together and deliver the final climax of the script? It'll be the most cinematic part. This is where everything connects. Crypto, big tech, banking, and global finance. We're standing at the edge of a transformation so massive that most people still can't see it coming. But when the switch flips, it won't just affect investors. It'll reshape the way money moves worldwide. Apple and Google are about to change everything. Picture this. You wake up one morning, update your iPhone or Android, and suddenly there's a crypto wallet built right into your operating system. Gold-backed stablecoins, XRP moves them. SWIFT, the backbone of global banking, has officially transitioned to the ISO 2022 messaging standard. This upgrade allows banks to send richer, faster, and more detailed financial data than ever before. But here's the twist. ISO 2022 isn't just for banks, it's for digital assets too. XRP, HBAR, XLM, XDC, and a handful of other cryptos are already ISO 2022 compliant. That means they're natively compatible with the next-gen infrastructure powering $150+ trillion in cross-border transactions every year. SWIFT isn't testing crypto anymore. They're integrating it. Tokenized assets are coming to phones, apps, and banking rails worldwide. Final words. We're not just talking about another bull run here. This isn't about price predictions or hype cycles. This is about the rewiring of global finance in real time. And when the dust settles, XRP won't just be a cryptocurrency. It'll be the bridge asset powering an entirely new economy. Stay informed. Stay early. Stay ready.